Hi, I'm Tiffany Bridge, and I'm the product manager for WordPress e-commerce at Nexcess. Today we're going to go over some simple site hygiene tasks to make sure that your store is ready for the holidays. And these are things that you could be doing anytime. You don't have to wait for the holidays to do it, but making sure that they're done in advance of Black Friday will make sure that you're avoiding any unpleasant surprises during your busy season, because nobody likes that. So some things to know before you get started. Black Friday, a 4-week countdown to Black Friday starts at Halloween. So there you have some time to think about a couple of really critical things before we get into it. The first one is that supply chains and shipping are kind of messed up this year. It's 2021, there's a pandemic on. You want to make sure that you know how those disruptions are impacting your business. And secondly, you want to know what kind of promotions you want to offer for the holidays. I'll move my face over here. So now that you have thought about those, make sure that you have a pretty good idea of how shipping and supply chains and your suppliers' supply chains are going to impact your product availability. We can move forward. So 4 weeks till Black Friday. The first thing we want to do is run some performance tests. I like to use a combination of webpagetest.org and Google Lighthouse in a Chrome browser. Make sure that you're checking just more than your homepage, but your homepage is a good place to start. You want to make sure that you're checking your kind of key pages. But let's take a look at webpage test. There we go. One of the things that I like about webpagetest.org is that it gives me this cool waterfall view of what's happening on my site, and that means that I can click down to some of these resources that are taking the longest to load and see what they are. Like, for example, this image down here, this lady and her puppy. It's taking the longest of anything else on the site to load, but I also can then look at my store page and see that that's actually pretty far down the page. So if that one takes a little while, I'm actually okay with that. So there might be some things I can do to make that run a little faster, but for the now, that's not going to be my top concern. The other thing that Webpage Test does is it gives you these letter grades up here at the top. I don't love it for security scores because I find that their recommendations don't always make sense for WordPress sites. So I usually work with other tools for that and ignore this from Webpage Test. But these other ones, you can see here that if you just click on it, it takes you to a listing of what the problem is. And there are a bunch of assets on my page that aren't using browser caching. They aren't leveraging browser caching to make the page run faster. So that's something that I could take to a developer and have him or her fix. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this so early, is because we want to make sure that we have time to get that kind of help with our site if we need it, and especially if we're not already working with someone. Okay. It also shows that I'm not using a CDN. A CDN is a nice, easy thing that you can do. Typically, a good WordPress host will offer you CDN. At Nexcess, we have our own. Plenty of other hosts offer them as well. But if your host doesn't, you can also leverage CDNs through plugins like Jetpack. Jetpack runs a CDN as well. So that's something else you could do. Another thing you can do here is run a Google Lighthouse test out of the Chrome browser. It's in the developer tools. It's up here. It'll run this report, and it'll give you these handy scores. One of the things that I really like about the Lighthouse test is that it gives you very WordPress-specific recommendations. So, for example, serve images in next-gen format so they load a little faster. That's great advice, but it specifically recommends using a plugin or service that will do it, so you can actually get some real advice that you could act on. Another recommendation here. Reduce unused CSS, eliminate render blocking resources. It can suggest plugins. It can suggest ways that you can address these problems on your site. And ideally, without, if you don't have a developer, you can maybe even do some of these things yourself. So please do take advantage of these tools and make sure that your site is loading as fast as it needs to load when it has a large number of people hitting it at once. Because every additional, 100 milliseconds or so of load time, it represents lost sales. And so you want to make sure that you're really just shaving things off of that. You're never going to get to 100% or A pluses on all of these grades, but what you can do is increase them and get better. So that's a really important thing for you to do. The other thing that we're going to do 4 weeks out is we are going to make sure that we are updating all of our plugins. Now on Nexcess, we're handling that for you. We've got this cool visual comparison tool that shows you, that takes a look at your site before and after applying the plugin updates, and make sure that nothing's breaking on like your key pages. But if you don't have that, you can start up a staging site on your own and run your plugin updates there, and then make sure that nothing breaks. And you can, and then avoid applying the ones that do break things. Wait for the next version that maybe fixes the bug, and then make sure. You want to make sure that all your plugin updates are done ahead of time, because as you get closer to the day, maybe you don't want to introduce those changes into your site right away. But you want to be as up to date as you can, because there can be really important like performance and security updates, and you want to make sure that that's all been applied as you head into the holiday season. Okay. And then, of course, anytime you're making a major update to your site, like adding plugins, go ahead and run your performance test again. We do that for you on Nexcess. It's called Plugin Performance Monitor, and what it does is it runs those lighthouse tests for you every night and lets you know, like if you've made any changes, which one caused a drop off in performance, which is great. But if you're not on Nexcess, no problem. You'll need to run those tests manually, but you can do that. All right. So moving on to 3 weeks until Black Friday. Here's the time when we think about your website. Your web store isn't just your website, right? It is also the full constellation of things that are integrated with your website. So that's going to be like your email marketing tools, your payment processor for sure. Anybody else that's like accessing your site through an API, like a fulfillment provider or a print-on-demand partner, like a Printful, for example. You want to make sure that you're logging into all those dashboards and making sure that everything is like tip-top with your accounts with them. For example, your email marketing tools. You want to make sure that your account has room to accommodate a big influx in signups, right? Like if you're only paying for, 3,000 subscribers and you suddenly have 3,500, you want to make sure that you're still going to be able to accommodate that, right? So if you're getting close, like to your plan level, make sure maybe you bump it up a little bit. Also, you're going to want to check to make sure that you've done all of their recommended steps to make sure your email is deliverable and doesn't get sent to spam. And some of that can be a little bit complicated and technical, but their support can help you. Your host support can help you kind of make sense of some of those recommendations if they're a little bit over your head. If you work with your fulfillment company or your print-on-demand partner, log in and make sure that they are that you have read all of the communications from them. If they're sending out any alerts about supply chain disruptions, you want to make sure that that there's no like alerts in your dashboard that they suddenly can't access your store the way they usually would. You want to get that resolved really quickly. You also want to log into your payment processor's dashboard and make sure they're not showing any errors like in their API logs or anything like that. Log into your hosting portal and make sure that you're not running out of disk space. Running out of disk space might cause a problem where you can't record orders. Now on Nexcess, we look out for that kind of stuff, and we scale your site as necessary. But not everyone has that, and so you want to make sure that you're really aware that you're not like just bumping up against any limitations. It's also a good time to test that your forms work on your site. You want to test your contact us form, your newsletter sign up forms, anything that collects data from customers. You want to make sure that none of that's going to spam. And if it is, you want to make sure that you've got like an SMTP service set up, something like a SendGrid or a Mailgun or something like that really kind of helps your email get where it's going. And finally, don't forget about your non-store integrations. If you've got an Instagram feed on your site, Instagram's constantly changing its API, right? Make sure that connection is still good. Make sure that that nothing that's like pulling in content from elsewhere on the web onto your site is broken. Okay. 2 weeks till Black Friday. You want to make sure that you are thinking about inventory and promotional tools. We're getting down to it, so now we're really kind of getting into like the nitty-gritty, right? Remember how we mentioned supply chains at the beginning of a session? This is where you really need to know what's happening in your supply chain, not just with your suppliers, but with your suppliers' suppliers. So we're going to go through our products and double check that our inventory numbers are correct. And we're also going to assess whether we want to have back order turned on. Now, some people do not use WooCommerce to manage inventory. I think it's important if you are in a situation where you're not sure that you're going to be able to get the next product when you want it. So we're going to be in here looking at our modern pendant lighting. And click over here onto our inventory tab. How much stock do we have? How many of these do we have? 10? 100? 50? Okay. Now, if I'm looking at this product and I know that I can get more of these in less than a week, and I know for sure that it's not going to take that long, there's not going to be any weird hiccups with it, I might go ahead and allow back orders. Just allow them. It just never goes out of stock on the website, and the products I just keep taking the orders, and I'll just order the products as I need them. But if I know that these are being shipped to me from overseas, and I know that shipping containers are having a problem, they're getting backed up in ports, and it's going to take me a little bit longer to get them, and I'm not exactly sure when it can be, and I don't want to guarantee that I can have these to somebody by Christmas, I might allow but notify customer. Just let them know that they're ordering a back order product. It might not be there on time. And if I am having the kind of problem where I know that the supplier of this item is manufacturing it in a country that is having a major COVID surge and is shutting everything down, including the factory where my things are made, I might just turn off back orders entirely. I might only sell the ones I have on hand just to be safe. Only you can make that decision for your business, but WooCommerce does give you the tools to manage it. And I recommend going through product by product and making sure that you've checked these settings, because your products can come from multiple different factories and multiple different locations, and you want to make sure that you know that the website is selling only as many as you can actually fulfill. That's really important. But while we're in here, we can also look over here at linked products, because this is when we're getting into upsells. For example, I've got this modern pendant lighting, and maybe if people are interested in this, they might be interested in the vintage lighting. They might be interested in the retro lighting. And the cool thing about that is that those things will show up. Maybe if I save them. But those things will show up down here if your theme supports it. So you want to make sure that you've got your upsells all set up so that you can. So if somebody's browsing one product on your site, they can get to your other products. And they can get to intelligently selected ones that you've picked for them. All right, so now that our inventory is sorted, we can turn our attention to promotional tools. And there are lots of options you can use to notify your customers of various promotions. My favorite is the site-wide banner, and we will find that. Here in our customizer. It's unobtrusive, and it can appear on every page of your site, and it's dismissible. It's called the store notice. It's under our WooCommerce settings. We just put that here. We just enable it. And it shows up here, so you can put in, And this is where you're going to put your coupon codes. Now, you're not going to enable this 2 weeks before Black Friday, but you might put in, don't forget to sign up for updates. Just to sort of generate a little buzz for your product. So that's one option that you have. But there are also services that offer things like pop-ups, lead management boxes, retargeting, and lots of other conversion tools. There's things like Opt-in Monster, and there's things like ConvertKit, and there are things like Bounce Exchange. So now is a really great time. If you're already using them, now's a great time to double check the configuration. And if you're not using one, now is a great time to adopt one. If you're on Nexcess, you have access to recapture for abandoned cart emails and fast for one-click checkout as well. So all you have to do is enable those and set them up. So those are some options as well. This is also a good time to evaluate what kind of coupon rules and sales you need for your planned promotions. If you're just using the included WooCommerce coupon and sale price functionality and that works for you, that's great. But if you find that you want like gift card functionality or the ability to offer more kinds of coupons with maybe more complex logic than the ones that are included with WooCommerce, or have different rules for how sale prices get applied, now's a great time to select and install a third-party plugin for that. And there are lots of them. And of course, all of these promotional tools add code to your site, especially additional JavaScript. So if you're adding to the site, make sure that you are rerunning your performance checks like we did 2 weeks ago. If you're on Nexcess, we're already taking care of that with the plugin Performance Monitor. But if you're not, you are going to want to make sure that you run those tests manually. 1 week till Black Friday. It's the last week. We're in the home stretch. You're probably thinking about not only Black Friday, but also the holidays coming up. So this week is a little bit less intense. We are going to review all of our customer service content. That's going to be things like your shipping policies, any frequently asked questions on your site, any transactional emails that are sent by WooCommerce. We're just going to go over all of those to make sure that that first of all, they're all accurate. We know that there are shipping delays all over the world. We've talked about that. We want to make sure that your shipping policies that are written on your site reflect the reality of how long it's going to take a package to get to a customer once they've ordered it. Hopefully by now you've got some idea of how that's affecting you, and if not, like as you lead up into this week before Black Friday, you want to make sure that you're really like observing, like, you know, pull some tracking numbers, make sure that you're watching that data, because you want to know, like, is it taking 2 or 3 days longer than it usually did? You need to update that on your site so that people understand, like, when their holiday gifts are going to arrive. You don't want somebody ordering something for their significant other, their child, and then it doesn't show up for Christmas, right? Like that bums people out. That's not a great experience with your store. So you want to make sure that they are fully aware of how long it will take to get a product that you ship to them. All right, and also if you sell like a print-on-demand product, like T-shirts or hoodies, have that underlying product changed? So, like, for example, has your supplier switched brands of T-shirt that they print on? You might have to update a sizing chart. Make sure that you've got all that up to date as well. So you want to go through just those content pages on your site and make sure that that content is still accurate. The other thing you can do at this point is change all of your, update all of your, transactional email content that's managed out of WooCommerce. So that's going to be in your settings. WooCommerce sends a bunch of emails. You can customize the text, and you probably did this when you set up your store. But if you didn't, now is an especially great time. This is the email, this is the new order that just gets sent to you. But there are also emails that get sent to the customer. So for example, okay, you're processing the order. What do you want to say to somebody here? Here's the subject, here's the email heading. Thanks for using our site. You could zhuzh this, right? This is a great time to make sure people feel really great about having bought from you. Make sure that you're updating these and, making sure that they kind of match your brand. Make sure that they sound as cool as you want them to sound. And make sure that they encourage the customer to feel as good as you want them to feel about having purchased from you. So once we're happy with our customer service content, let's make sure that we have our actual promotions in place. So now we can get into our coupons area and make sure that all the coupons active on the site are the right ones. Let's click on over here. Now what I'm showing here is the coupon feature that comes with WooCommerce. You might be using an additional coupon tool. There are lots of features here. Make sure you are setting an expiration date. And any restrictions you need on the coupon, like if you only want it to be used for a certain number of items, or if you don't want it to apply to sale items. We'll call this Black Friday 2021. Black Friday sale. Minimum spend, we'll set this to if you spend $50, you can get Like, we can set up any restrictions, like it doesn't apply to certain products, it doesn't apply to certain categories. We haven't banned anyone in particular from using the coupon, for example. But this will be like a fixed cart discount. If you spend $50, you will get 20% off, for example. And maybe we want to throw in free shipping, and this is where we set our expiration date. Let's make sure we're setting it for, the 30th of November, for example, however long you want it to be off, to be available. There's lots of features here. Make sure that you're setting up your restrictions, and then you can go ahead and you can save it. You can publish it. So once we have published it, it will be available on the site, which is why we're waiting until the week before to do this. I personally wouldn't worry about publishing it too early, even if you don't want this to be used until Friday, just because if you're using a good code, people aren't necessarily going to be guessing it. And it's good to get it set up in advance so you don't have to worry about the coupon not being live. Finally, if we're offering any sale prices or doorbusters or anything like that, we can edit the sale prices on our actual products. So let's go back to our modern pendant lighting and edit it again. So down here, there's a regular price. We can set a sale price, and then we can schedule how long that sale lasts. So for example, we can pick Black Friday, and then we can have it expire Cyber Monday, and that's how long that product will be discounted. So make sure that you get those scheduled so you don't forget to go back to the regular price, and also take note of how this interacts with the back order status we set. If it's a sale, maybe you don't want this item to be back ordered at the sale price, and instead it should just go out of stock. So make sure you're thinking about that as well. All right, so we have run our performance tests. We have checked up on all of our integrations. We have made sure that our products are all set and ready to go. We have installed all of our promotional tools. We have reviewed our customer service content. Now it's just time to relax. Enjoy your holiday. Make sure you help with the dishes. Don't just fall asleep in front of the football game. But have a great holiday and good luck.